Good evening, boxing fans, and welcome to Enter the Ring Live with your three hosts, Mighty Mike,
AJ Rage,
and Eric the Red.
We are the hosts with the most.
The hosts with the toast.
Toast.
Yep,
Cheers.
the host without beer today. So no drinks today.
No drinks. Are you going dry today?
No, not well for now anyway. Not until dinner time. Then
when did prohibition start?
What was that?
I said, when did prohibition start? I got my drink.
Oh no. Well, I got to drive here in just a little bit, so that's.
Oh, smart man, smart man.
He's safe. Yeah, I've been down that. I've been down that road a couple times.
Yeah, I know. I had to go pick you up at the.
Yeah. That's a whole other story.
Hey, so what's going on, guys? Good weekend of boxing, huh? Some pretty good fights.
Yeah, I thought it was an excellent weekend. It was
pretty good fights, and next week it's just going to ramp up. So, like we said a few shows ago, man, we're just going to ramp up late spring into summer. We're going to have a lot of good shows coming up.
What's really sad is the fact that I was able to actually watch the fight yesterday because we had absolutely no business. Because
you told me that yesterday, bro. That sucks, dude.
The governor here up in Oregon locked everything back down again for no flipping reason. She needs to take an economics class and figure out, your small businesses are the ones that are,
You guys are drive the economy, man.
Yeah, it's
such nonsense. I swear. We're not hearing anything in the news down here about this major spike in cases in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest. What's going on? Like,
there's not. She's an idiot, and I'll say it to her face, Governor Brown. You're an idiot.
Well, we're not much better here in California with Newsom. Believe me.
Yeah, no, I know.
Newsom's so bad, bro. Newsom's so bad that if the runoff was between Caitlyn Jenner and Newsom, I would vote for Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah,
because Caitlyn Jenner. Conservative, and Caitlyn Jenner came out against this whole transgender thing with the girls, biological boys competing against girls, and this is an Olympic gold medalist saying that.
Yeah,
and I know that.
I have to say that I'm kind of for that because I'm gonna be honest with you, because if that happens, then I'm turning pro as a woman, and I guarantee you I'm going to win a title within
3 fights.
Months. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll be winning a title. I will be named Aurelia.
Exactly. Think of the millions of dollars you're gonna get.
I'll be like that guy doesn't look like a girl. But.
Dude, I would challenge Clarissa Shields in my very first fight, and I would knock her out.
Dude, I would take the 3 top women's champions and fight them all on the same day.
Yeah.
So hey, let's get on some real news, man. Let's talk about. Want to start off with the zone card, or what do you want?
Yeah. Let's talk about the card that took place yesterday in Manchester, England, on the zone. Main event: Derek Chisora versus Joseph Parker in a fight that was kind of thrown together. Like it happened real quick. It came together really quick. They signed the fight almost immediately after Joseph Parker fought Junior Fa. The fight was signed. The fight took place. But before we get to the main event, let's talk about. Did you want to talk about Chris Eubanks? Chris Eubanks wins the unanimous decision against the guy Morrison. I didn't really know much about the kid. I know a
little bit about him. I've seen Morrison fight a couple times. He had some star potential at one point. He ended up losing about 5 of his last 6. He was a better fighter because he's fought against some top guys.
So he just was brought in as his opponent for Chris, and
he had his moments against Chris Eubanks. Chris Eubanks, as everybody knows, is training now with Hall of Fame fighter Roy Jones, and I see Roy Jones has done some good things with him, the way he moves and stuff. He's trying to act like Roy, but he'll never have the legs that Roy has. But it wasn't that. What really bothered me, and I'll let you kind of elaborate on it, bro, is this trend I'm seeing with a lot of these young UK fighters like Ben, is the attitude and this arrogance. I just don't like it.
Well, yeah, that's one way to put it. How do I say it? They're not as bad as these YouTube knuckleheads, but they want instant gratification. They fight somebody who's marginal top 30 fighter, and right away they start calling out and thinking they deserve shots against the big boys. And you have to, you gotta I don't know, you gotta earn it. I think. In the days of boxing, where, believe it or not, a sanctioning organization can be bought and paid for, a la the WBA, but you still gotta at least fight a known opponent. You can't fight a Morrison, and nothing against Morrison. It's a tough kid, but you can't fight this guy and all of a sudden think, I'm ready to go in there and fight, Triple G or something. It's like,
the thing is, they hype these guys up so much, but when you really think about it, they're pulling from a small pool of people, to get their fighters. The United States and heck, the rest of the world, for that matter,
that's a great point.
So much larger. So they're hyping these people up so that they can get more boxing dollars into the UK. Well, guess what? They're nothing. put them back over here to the United States and let our guys just beat the living hell out of them.
I mean,
speaking of that fight,
okay, but you know what? The fact of the matter is, you're going to have a diamond in the rough every now and again.
Yeah,
it's far and few between. All this arrogance, like AJ was saying, the arrogance is just ridiculous. I mean, it's stupid.
But, yeah. I mean, he talks more than a guy like a Josh Taylor's a guy that's earned. He's a multiple belt holder. Am I right? He has his belt, plus he won that belt off Prograde, and he doesn't even talk nowhere near as much as Chris Eubanks. But I think a lot of it,
or Nigel Benn's son.
Yeah, or Conor Benn. Yeah. Conor Benn talks a little bit too, but not as much as Eubanks. Eubanks, I think I don't know. Eubanks, I know he spent some time at the Mayweather gym for a couple years training and stuff, and maybe he just that rubbed off on him. He understood that was the way of the culture there is just to talk.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
One fight that we glossed over a little bit. So just to recap that, I mean, obviously Chris Eubanks wins a unanimous decision against Morrison, 10-round decision. Okay, on to hopefully bigger and better things for Eubanks. The one fight that we completely forgot about, and it was utterly probably a forgettable fight, and was Dimitri Bivol's win. But what shocked me, who's the opponent's name? Craig Richards. Craig Richards. What shocked me more than anything was where that fight was placed in the card. You got to look a year and a half, 2 years back, pre-COVID. Dimitri Bivol's fighting as the main event on ESPN. HBO, he's fighting on HBO on the way up. Now he's buried somewhere mid-card on a DAZN card in Manchester, far away from where he's from, and a lackluster performance. I mean, he wins the fight, but a very lackluster performance where he got marked up pretty considerably.
Is that picture you sent?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I watched the entire fight with you, and he came out as traditional. I mean, he controlled the action in the beginning, but you had a sense that Richards could have took control at any time. He was a more highly skilled boxer, I felt, than Bivol was. As the fight started to progress, he started to take a little bit more over as far as the scores were close. One of the guys had a ridiculous score, like 118, 110, but the other ones were like 115, 113. If Richards would have started his engine a bit earlier, he would have probably pulled off the upset. I know there's been talk. We've talked about it, about, guys like Canelo, who have already fought in that division, who fought Kovalev. How would he do against guys like Bivol? I'll tell you now, based off of what I saw last night, and this isn't the first time I've seen him fight, I just don't see it. I still think he's too small for that division. I think he would do better at 168. But even at 168, he's going to run into problems. A guy like David Benavidez, I don't think has a hard time with him.
Bivol has definitely regressed. I mean, he was fighting with a lot of power earlier in his career. His last several fights, he's content to just kind of win a decision. Never really, he has like a safety first approach kind of to his fights.
Did you see his fight against Joe Smith? That was such a
yeah.
I was like, oh, what are you doing, man? It's like, I don't know. But there wasn't really much to say about it. But he was kind of, and I hate to say it, but he was kind of delusional after the thing. Like, I'm ready to fight against anybody. I'm like, no, come on, man.
Now, the one thing I will say, this was his first fight in a long time. So I'll give him a pass. Maybe he was knocking off the rust. But usually, like Sean Porter said it best, I think, during the fights on the PBC, he says, usually, that you knock that rust off after the first round or two. You're in the mix.
So was Chris Eubanks Jr. He was knocking out 15 months of inactivity.
Yeah. And he looked more dominant in his win than Bivol. Am I right?
Yeah, Richards is not what I could say. I mean, he was an undefeated guy coming in, and he was a tough fighter. But I'll tell you right now, I think more people were impressed with what Richards was able to do than what Bivol didn't do.
What do you guys? They threw a swing bout in there. They threw Campbell Hatton in there. I don't know if you guys caught that.
I saw it. I caught it.
Ricky Hatton's son. This is in his second pro fight. What do you guys think of him? He's a kid that took up boxing late. I don't know if he knew if he won. He kind of took the same route as Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu fought as an amateur as a young kid, and then he kind of got away from boxing for almost 2 years. He just stopped fighting entirely, and then he decided, hey, this is what I want to do.
I got very nostalgic during it because I tell you, right when it started, I heard that Blue Moon, and he's a spot on resemblance of his dad.
Yeah,
and he's coming out
to
it,
a little taller than his dad.
And then the Blue Moon changed into this UK more like rockish kind of song, and I thought it was really cool. I know there's a lot of criticism on the kid. It's only his second fight. He shows got a lot of things. I love the way he works the body. He's got fast hands. He's got good feet. It's just going to take time.
He's in shape too. Kid's in shape. Looks like a strong
fitness monster right here. He used to work at like gyms and stuff, but he's doing it for his. I love the fact that everything is based on his family, his little boy and stuff like this. I think he's got a chance. He's got the right people with his uncle Matthew Hatton, who's working with him right now, who is maybe not at the level of his brother Ricky, but Matthew's turned out to be a pretty good trainer. So I mean, give the kid some time. But I'm excited to see where this kid's going to go.
Yeah, I agree. So Campbell Hatton wins it a 4-round unanimous decision in his second pro fight. It's just another kid who I think we talked. Eric, you talked earlier about the UK fighters and the brashness and the mouse, but I don't see Campbell Hatton going down that road. He's going to stay grounded. He's going to stay. He's going to be like his dad. Ricky Hatton was never really.
Ricky was never like that. Yeah.
Another reason that this kid could possibly be good is just the fact of who his dad is. I mean, it's in his blood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in his blood, and you can say it or you cannot say it. But if you're raised and you're grown up, or you grow up around boxing and you watch your dad and you see all the things he does, guess what, guys? He could have some promise. You're absolutely right.
I'll tell you this. I was not a fan of Ricky Hatton in the beginning because I was such a fan of Costa Zoo, and after Zoo got defeated by Hatton, and all these things that were, put at an advantage for Hatton, I really disdained Hatton. And then I really started to watch him and see the kind of person that he was and that infectious connection he has with his fans. And man, I couldn't help myself. And next thing you know, man, I'm at the MGM swinging Blue Moon with lower guys from Essex drunk.
Oh yeah. Watching him fight Mayweather. We were there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love Ricky Hatton. I love what he was good for the sport the time he was there and stuff. I don't think he got a lot of the credit, but just hypothetical. Think it would have been like if Hatton and Zoo were in the same weight class, and that could have been a possible future matchup. Oh my God.
Campbell Hatton versus Tim Zoo.
Yeah, dude, we're talking.
Hey, you never know because Campbell Hatton's fighting at what is he fighting at? 140?
147. He's fighting at welterweight.
Oh well, then he's only one division south of Tim Zoo.
You never know. Yeah, but he's got a ways to
He's got a ways to go. Yeah, but you never know. And I know this. I know that will be a fight that Tim Zoo will. I mean, you think you think he dislikes Michael Zarafa or I mean, he would really jump on Campbell Hatton. And obviously, today we're saying that's a mismatch. But 2-3 years down the line, you just never know, man.
Yeah,
you never know. If there, stranger things have happened in boxing. Let's
be the one to go watch.
Let's jump to the co-main event, which was Katie Taylor versus Natasha Jonas. Katie Taylor pounded out a good workmanlike 10-round unanimous decision, but it was a close fight. There were some close rounds. I think Katie Taylor, her MO is she starts off really, really fast, really strong, kind of slows down a little bit middle rounds, and then finds that fifth and sixth gear to finish the fight strong. Kind of like Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano is a very, very similar. Starts off real strong, maybe gives away a few middle rounds, and then finishes strong. Maybe sees something and makes the adjustments. But Katie Taylor, it's to me, it's like a love-hate. There's times when I really admire her, and there's times where I think she's got the benefit of a decision. Like the Delphine Pursoon fight. I think she lost the first fight. Anyway, she did come back and avenge that close fight with a dominant win in the rematch. So she's doing what she needs to do. And I got to say, Katie Taylor is doing things right. What impresses me most about Katie Taylor is she's so humble. She's got every belt there is to have at that division, right? Ring Fight of the Year, consensus #1 pound for pound woman by a lot of organizations, but she's just very humble. She's just very quiet, humble, doesn't run her mouth. And, I think boxing needs more of that, Yeah. We say it all the time.
They do. I looked at this fight too. Like I said, I mean, I like
talk about the size difference, bro. Because you were telling me about that when we were talking on the phone.
Yeah. The thing I liked was, I too like Katie Taylor for those things, but then there's a lot of reasons why I'm not a big fan of Katie Taylor. One of the things in this fight, kind of like the Bivol fight, it wasn't so much I was impressed with what Katie did because she's done that so many times. It's what Natasha Jones was able to do at this young time of her career. She had this size, so she holds her weight really well. She's a girl that comes in with some skill. She too was a humble girl. She has extreme power, something that Katie Taylor doesn't.
Yeah.
Jones just ran out of gas. She just ran out of gas. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was her first time going, 10 rounds and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, she just
first time in a big fight. And
yeah. So honestly, even though people may not believe so, I would like to see this fight a second time because I definitely think there's still a chance here because Katie does throw these nice little flurries, but there's nothing on them. It's just pity pot punches. If Jones learns how to just kind of absorb that, bring that in, and then turn her body a certain way. Because when she started hooking Katie was billing those punches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to look for somebody to some resolve to beat Katie, but let's be honest, there's not a whole lot of competition or a whole lot of intriguing matchups in women's boxing. I think this one is intriguing for a second time.
The fight that I want to see.
If that law goes into effect, it's going to have AJ in there.
I'll beat Katie Taylor's ass, dude.
The fight that I think everybody who even gives a rip about women's boxing is I want to see Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. That's the best fight in the division. That's not, nobody cares about Clarissa Shields. Nobody cares about, who's another good fighter that fights in and around that division is Michaela Mayer. She's pretty good, and she's making progress. She's still a little bit stiff to me. Doesn't really have the fluidity that Serrano and Taylor do. That's a fight I want to see, though. I want to see Katie Taylor, and I want to see Amanda Serrano. I know the fight was signed multiple times, and some gamesmanship was played.
Do you really think, though, Mike, do you really think Katie Taylor wants that fight, though?
I don't think Katie Taylor cares, but Eddie Hearn doesn't want the fight.
It's not a winnable fight. I think it's a fight that was Serrano, being the fact that the amount of punishment that Katie takes in fights against average fighters, like fighter like Serrano is going to hurt you bad.
And when I said both fighters fight, they come out strong. That's where I think for the first 3-4 rounds, it could be exciting. Then Serrano takes over, breaks her down, and stops her late, somewhere around 7-8 rounds. Because I think Serrano is just physically, she is a knockout puncher.
Yeah, she is.
She's got 26, 27 knockouts in her 30 plus wins. She is a power puncher and a boxer, and she's well rounded. She's the best fighter in the world, female.
And a class act.
Yeah,
class act.
She's the best fighter in the world.
Yeah, she really is
for the female division, hands down.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and jump on the main event.
Let's do
Derek Chisora, Joseph Parker. They fought 12 rounds, right? So this was some type of an eliminator for the WBC belt. I'm not really. I can't even keep track anymore of eliminators and interims and everything. But what was your guys' overall consensus of the fight? I thought the fight started off slow, and about 3 or 4 or 5 rounds, and I'm going, oh God, this fight's going to put me to sleep. And then it got better towards the end of the fight, where Joseph Parker kind of turned it up a notch, whereas Chisora just ran out of gas. He was huffing and puffing from like the 6th, 7th round on. You could just hear him in that corner, just breathing.
I'll tell you right now, I loved what Chisora did in the beginning. I told you that prior to the fight. I said Chisora jumps on him. Parker's such a notorious slow starter, and he drops Parker in the first round.
Yeah,
I got to be honest with you. As much as people have disdain for Derek Chisora, I was pulling for Derek Chisora.
I was as well.
Because the guy's been on the end of so many bad decisions and so many efforts where he looks like he's got it, and just a freak of nature lightning bolt comes out of nowhere and ends it. And I thought and I kind of felt bad for the guy afterwards. He's like, I guess people just don't like me. And I'm like, dude, the guy's given everything to boxing, whether you love him or you hate him. He's giving some exciting matchups.
You know what I loved the most about it? I loved the in between the rounds, sitting in the thing. Of course, he was huffing and puffing, but everything Buddy McGirt said, yes, coach. Yes, coach.
He did everything, man.
Just the respect he was showing to Buddy McGirt. Yeah. And this is a guy who's a veteran fighter, but he knows he's got a veteran trainer in his corner. And I really, that endeared me to him. That showed me a different side of Derek Chisora, that he really was trying to do well for not just him, but for his coach.
Well, this is only his second fight with Buddy McGirt.
Yeah.
So give him a couple more fights, because he's obviously, because Derek Chisora to me looked like a better fighter in this fight.
Yeah, and a little bit more conditioning, maybe a little bit more road work. An extra mile or two.
He's just so muscular, man. That's the thing. He's just a big guy, man. He really is.
Strong.
You really don't know how big he is.
He's very strong. And it was I think the judges got it right. I think Parker pulled it out, but I'm glad I didn't see any crazy, ridiculous cards. They were all pretty close. Am I right? 115, 113.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was one that was 116, 111 that I thought was a little wide, but
yeah, I'm guessing like 115, 113 with just 7 rounds to 5, really. And close. But
what was your impression of Parker?
Eric, what did you think of Parker?
Guys, that's the one fight I didn't get to see.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, see.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know what? Parker, like I said, he started off in his typical Parker, slow, plodding, punch, 1-2, hold, punch, 1-2. I thought we were in just for another stinker. But he did turn it on in the second half of the fight, and it could have been attributed more to Chisora running out of gas, where he was getting more brave. And Joseph Parker used to fight that way. He used to fight brave and stand and trade. And
what happened to Joseph Parker's power? This guy has no power anymore. Whatever power
he doesn't commit. He doesn't commit. It's like he's throwing punches with the anticipation. Let me get out of the way real quick so I don't get,
He's very defensive minded. He's a guy who's just one knockout away from being the end of Joseph Parker. I'll tell you right now, dude.
Oh, yeah.
They were talking about, we'll talk about more later, but I know they were talking about a possible matchup with him and Luis Ortiz. Ortiz ends him in spectacular fashion. Yeah, I don't see anything that Parker can do that would even derail Ortiz.
Yeah, or because Ortiz, in addition to being a big, strong guy, he's got skill, way more skill than a Derek Chisora. Oh, yeah. So if Derek Chisora is able to land and drop him, I mean, even though it wasn't a devastating knockdown, but it was a knockdown. It was a clear knockdown. Ortiz lands that punch, he jumps all over him. Oh, and Ortiz has got a motor. Ortiz has proven that he can go 10, 12 rounds. That's not an issue for him.
Yeah. Oh, here's a guy that withstood some big bombs from Deontay Wilder and actually was the first guy to really have Wilder in some serious trouble, Oh, yeah. Well,
not only that, he was winning that fight in the rematch. He was winning that fight. He was winning almost every round. And all it was, it took the great equalizer, that right hand by Deontay.
Yep, exactly.
Let's go ahead and jump over to
PBC.
Let's go over to jump into the card that took place yesterday here in Carson, California, Dignity Health Sports Park. It looks like it wasn't nowhere near a sellout, but I think they had limited tickets. I don't think they made all the seats available because I saw it about half full, but spaced out. It was very, very strategically the way that the crowd was dispersed throughout that outdoor stadium. One of the best places to ever see a fight. It's an absolute perfect place. It doesn't matter if you're in the very last seat, the very top. It's a great place to see a fight. We've seen multiple fights there. We've seen wars. We've seen it all there. That's a great place to fight.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the undercard. Let's start off with the Fundora versus Jorge Cota fight. Fundora ended up winning by stoppage. What was it? The 6-round stoppage?
Yes.
These guys just went right to war from the opening bell. Toe to toe, stood there. And you're thinking to yourself, and even the announcer was saying, I mean, Sebastian Fundora, obviously he's a freak of nature. He's 6'6". He's a guy, but he doesn't fight like a 6'6" fighter. He fights like he's 5'6". He stands there and says, I'm going to knock you out or you're going to knock me out.
Yep. And you know what? We talked about that too earlier. And one of the things that I had mentioned, I know we've been in agreement before because we've been fans. We've promoted Sebastian Fundora over here for well over a year before when nobody was really even looking at the kid. I still think that he's got a lot of things to work on. Not a lot of things. I love his attitude. I love the fact that maybe it's just that long range that he has and that he tricks people that he's not going to use long range. He knows, and the fact he can come down with his punches rather than pushing his punches. That's a huge advantage. But he still took too many punches in this fight against a guy who's a pretty big puncher. And he put himself in some dangerous moments. But you got to give the kid nothing but credit. This is a kid who loves to go to war. And he went in there and put himself out there and came out victorious. I thought it was a bit of a quick stoppage.
Yeah.
It was only a matter of time until Fundora really put him to sleep.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time. But I agree. Ray Corona just made a bonehead call. The crowd let him know about it. And even Sean Porter and Mikey Garcia, who were guest commentators up at the booth, said, it was a bit of a premature stoppage because Cota had just thrown and landed a left hook. It wasn't a crushing blow, but
that round he had actually started to hit that pretty frequently. So I do think it was a premature stoppage. Granted, Cota would have probably ended up losing anyway.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you got to give the guy a fighting chance.
Well, he was in the act of defending himself. He was in the act of fighting. It wasn't like he was just up against ropes taking shots. Ray Corona, to me, has become a guy that's just way too trigger happy.
Yeah, he's way too trigger happy.
He did that in Johnny's fight against Josecito. He's done that in a number of fights.
Yeah, right at the moment when Johnny lands a big punch and rocks Josecito back on his fucking heels, you're like, dude, why are you stopping this fight? This is the way the guy fights.
I don't care for him as a referee, which is why he's relegated to California. You'll never see him ref outside of California. He's not qualified to ref outside of California. He's just not.
There was a moment in the fight though, right there in that round, in that 6th round, I believe it was, where you could tell Cota was hurt and he was just kind of winging this left hook, and he threw 3 in a row and all 3 landed on Fundora. And I thought to myself, Sebastian, you got to move out of the way of those punches. It's like you can't tell me you're not seeing them. But then there's another part of me that tells me Sebastian's like, I'm going to let him hit him with me, kind of give him a false sense until he'll kind of come. You just don't know with this kid, but he loves to go to war. You know?
Yeah, he does. And a good kid afterwards, they interviewed him right there in the ring and they said, anybody you want to call out? And he says, I don't call people out, which, I mean, there's no need to. I mean, he's just going to continue to fight and make progress. And
he's going to be a nightmare for anybody because of that height and because of that awkwardness. It's going to be a nightmare for anybody.
I do want to see him work a little bit more on his defense, though. He shouldn't be getting hit like he is with that reach, with that height. He should not be getting hit like he is now, and he almost needs to kind of rethink for his later years. You know what I mean? Because if he takes a lot out of himself now, I mean, it's not going to bode well.
Yeah. He's fought a lot of hard rounds in his career.
Exactly. That's what
bro. In the 5th round, going to the end of the 5th round, I don't know if you remember, he hurt Cota a bit, and he gave himself some range, and he was jabbing and coming in. I was like, wow, dude, that's another level of Sebastian Fundora I haven't seen. And he was doing uppercuts. And I was like, wow, this kid is just, I'm telling you,
he's the real deal.
Out of the champions that are in that division right now, I'll tell you the one I think where it would be an interesting matchup, even at this time for Fundora, and that's Brian Castano.
Yeah, and you know what? And Brian Castano, obviously, we know he's already signed to fight Jermell Charlo. That fight's happening, I think, in July.
Pretty much just throwing his title away.
Well, I don't know though, man. I don't know though. I think Castano's got a live shot. We'll see. But if the winner of that fight, I guarantee this: if Castano wins that fight, Sebastian will get the title shot. Yeah. If Jermell wins that fight, he'll look elsewhere. He's not going to take that challenge right now. No, he won't. But
it was good. It was a good fight. Actually, the fight before that, Araceli Lara came back and stopped that Thomas Lamanna. 1-punch knockout, man.
Yeah, Lara's first fight at 160, or first or second fight. No, first fight at 160.
First fight.
Weighing at 159.5. He looked strong. The punch, to me, I mean, it was a good punch. Was it a devastating punch? No, but I guess Lamanna's been knocked out before, so it's not like this guy had a granite chin. No. But the way that the punch landed, it was kind of on the ear. It was kind of like right here, and it dropped him, and then his head bounced off the canvas, and immediately the referee waved it off. I thought to myself, man, was it really that good of a punch? Let me go back and watch that replay. And I watched the replay. I'm like, I don't know what to think about that. I really don't.
Yeah, it was almost like a discombobulated, almost kind of like what happened to Anthony Joshua against Andy Ruiz and stuff like this. But hey, you got to say, I mean, he was able to do that against a guy, and Lamanna's a tough guy. I mean, he's been stopped before, but he's a tough guy. He's winning there some long rounds with some tough people.
Well, and that was for the third version of the WBA 160 pound title. So Araceli Lara now is a world champion at 160 pounds. The WBA, to me, every fight it seemed like was either for the title or the WBA final eliminator. What is going on with that organization, man? I mean, there's nothing against Lara. I mean, he's a champion. He's been a champion. He deserves, he's got name recognition. He's got a great resume, but you can't. So let me ask you a question. If Lamanna lands a lucky punch or just a shocking punch and wins, is Lamanna worthy of being a world champion coming off of a loss? Am I right in saying he's coming off of a loss?
No, he was coming off of a win, but he had a loss before that.
So I don't know. It's just one of those things where, I mean, I know they want to kind of try to legitimize the fight and whatever. Maybe they owed Lara something. I don't know, but I don't consider him a champion at this weight. Not yet. I just don't.
Hey, you know what? I just thought of something, and it completely blurred to my mind. But Lara and Castano already fought each other. They went to a draw. Brian Castano and Araceli Lara.
That's right. They fought about a year and a half ago.
And that was a fight that I thought Lara won.
Hey guys,
but they called it a draw.
Boxing scene in the WBA now has
three champions.
Fundora, 3 champions, but they have Fundora number 2 now.
Yeah. So Fundora will be waiting in the wings to get a shot at like I said, if Castano win. No, that's at 154. We're talking one. Okay, no, I'm sorry. We're talking 160 right now, Lara. But you're right. Sebastian is number 2 WBA at 154.
Yeah.
Lara is now 6 pounds north of that at 160.
What about? And you know that the sad thing is I know something like this can end up happening only because that's the way the boxing gods work. You hate it when you see 2 fighters that you really, really like and they got to fight each other and you can't really pick or choose which one you want to go with and stuff. But one of them is going to end up going home sad. One's going to go home happy. And that would be if for some reason they made a Tim Tszyu Sebastian Fundora fight. And because Tim Tszyu's on the way up and he's a marketable name right now, I don't see it out of the realm of possibilities because Fundora's people are going to look for that mid-level guy who's about ready to emerge as a star in the division, and it's a possibility, man. And that's just something that'd be kind of hard to watch, It'd be entertaining as hell, but I just think it's a fight that you just don't want to see the guy really lose.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump to the co-main on that card, which was a fight that God, it was hard to watch after about 3 rounds.
It bothered me.
And then Omar Figueroa ended up getting stopped at the end of the 6th round by the corner stopped the fight by Abel Ramos
shots, man.
at 147, and he was back with Joel Diaz. Remember his last fight, he fought without a trainer. Basically, it was just he had his sister in there with him or whoever else, his dad. Very, very shocking to see that Omar Figueroa has made absolutely zero progress after going, during the interview process and saying how he's recommitted himself and he's been working hard for the last year. And his fighting style has always been strange, right? But this was the strangest I had ever saw it. He just kept doing this thing where he just kept doing this, but he was not letting his hands go after 2 rounds. He was just taking punch after punch after punch after punch. I don't know, AJ. There was something amiss, man. It reminded me a little bit of Oliver McCall when he fought Lennox Lewis. He was having some type of a mental breakdown inside the ring. And before he came out in that 6th round, I don't know if you guys remember that, but he was in his corner trying to heave. He looked like
he was trying to burp or something.
He was trying to burp, expel some gases or something. He might have got hit with a body shot that might have done some damage to an organ.
If you don't mind,
he was coughing up blood
at the 6th round. After 6th round, there was something I didn't that weird apology out of nowhere, out of left field, really kind of struck a weird nerve with me. I was like, why are you apologizing when you lost one fight to a guy who's a champion in Ugas? I'm like, you don't have anything to apologize for. So he comes back and he does this apology like, I'm back, I'm serious, like this. I'm thinking like, I've always had a weird feeling about the Figueroas. I'll never forget when he fought against Johnny Molina in a fight that I felt he lost, where Molina won it. Figueroa's dad stood the entire fight with this strange look on his face, just overlooking his son. And then when Omar came to his next fight, when he lost to Ugas, he comes with his sister who's wearing these booty yoga pants. Just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But it was the fact that this weird style that he was doing, I'm going to say it again. I don't think it was just a medical thing. I think it was the fact that he was getting hit plain and clear, where he would usually feint or be able to, at least roll some of the punches by a guy who's not a big puncher in Ramos, but something happened to Omar Figueroa on that time off. I think he has some type of whether it's chemical or mental, something broke that kid down.
You're right. And you know what?
It's actually kind of sad.
It was very sad. In previous fights, he would do that weird little side to side parry and kind of whatever, but he would always fire off of it. Remember, he would go this way and then fire left, go that way and fire right, and you never knew where those punches were coming from. But in this one, he just didn't let his hands go, especially after about the 3rd round. He was just taking shots. He was starting to get busted up. He was bleeding out of the mouth. His left eye was starting to swell.
Well, as I said, he was taking shots. I mean, go back to the Molina fight or even the Ugas fight. Neither one of those guys, I mean, Molina shook him a bit, but he was taking huge punches and going toe-to-toe with Molina. And here he's going up against a guy in Abel Ramos. I'm not trying to disrespect the Ramos brothers, but he's a softer take. And he's just taking these and he's looking rocked and he looks bewildered, like he looks like disinterested. I remember there was a moment when Joel Diaz gave him some instruction and his answer was completely out of left field. And I'm like, dude, this kid is not there. He is somewhere else right now.
Yeah, there's something amiss, man.
I would keep an eye on this kid, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah, he needs to be under a 5150 psych eval or something, because there's something just was not right. And then they had no mention of him after the fight. There was no mention of him. Nothing like, we checked on Omar Figueroa and, he's fine. He's going to go get checked out by the doctor. He's on his way to the hospital. Nothing.
Did you see his posture, bro, in that corner? That wasn't pain, bro. That was sorrow breakdown. He had his head. He's doing this. There was something wrong with this kid, bro.
And like you said, Abel Ramos is not that tough of a fighter. No. I mean, he's a good fighter, but I saw him get lucky against who's the kid? The kid who comes out, the good Perella. He got his ass beat for the entire fight, and then the last 30 seconds of the fight, drops Perella twice. He was never really hurt. He jumps up, and the referee stopped it with 1 second. That was the biggest injustice I've seen at that moment in a long time. And then he goes on to get beat by Ugas, right? Ramos, or was it a draw? No, he got beat.
No, he got beat, but it was a split decision. He actually fought tough against Ugas.
He fought tough against Ugas, but this is not a guy that it possesses some devastating power or anything.
No.
I don't know, man. I don't know. And we're kind of glossing over it, but since we're talking about Abel, let's talk about his nephew just briefly. His nephew, Jesus Ramos. don't like the kid at all.
Mm-mm.
In my opinion, the kid's got nothing. The kid fights at 147. They kept saying Brian Kinney disgusted me, trying to say how polished, how strong, how whatever this kid is. This kid fought a guy that got beaten up by Pedraza at 140 in Javier Molina.
Yeah.
Javier Molina needs to, Javier Molina, I know he was, he was in the midst of a comeback last couple of years training again, but Javier Molina fought a tough competitive fight, but this kid Ramos never even phased him one iota. No. And this is a guy who got dropped and hurt multiple times by Pedraza at 140. What does this kid Jesus Ramos think he's going to do on 147? And it's not even so much him. It's the announcers just really trying to pump this guy up. And I just do not see it. I do not see it. He's got nothing.
He's the PBC version of Top Rank's Edgar Berlanga in a sense, where they're trying to talk this kid up and trying to make him something that he's not. The bigger issue I got is, honestly, if they're going to talk anybody up, they should have talked his uncle up, Abel Ramos, who's actually fought the better competition, who's actually had a resurgence in his career since that early loss to Jamal James some years ago. I mean, the bottom line is this kid, look at his level of competition. I mean, yeah, he beat, Jesse Roman. And I'll be honest with you, go back to his fight against Jesse Roman. We know the Roman brothers. And Jesse won that fight. That was the biggest bullshit I've ever seen.
I'm not a fan of this kid. This kid's mug. He's full of himself, and he has no reason to be. Like I said, he struggled with Javier Molina, who just got beaten up in his last fight by Pedraza. The fact that he was even getting this shot on pay-per-view was really. I'm not mad at Molina. I like Javier. I mean, I met him a couple of times. He used to come and spar with Jaime Munguia. Yeah. When Jaime was still fighting on 154, and he did a good account of himself and was always coming in.
It's tragic about Molina, though, man, because the guy really had some promise coming out of the and something, once again,
the problem is he needs to get in a better gym with a better coach, better people. That's what it comes down to.
Well, at this stage in his career at 32, it's over. That page has been turned. I mean, at this point, he's an opponent. He lost to an inexperienced novice. I don't care. The kid's not an amateur pedigree. His family doesn't have a big name in boxing and stuff. So at this point, I mean, where does Javier Molina go? I feel bad for the guy, but there's really nowhere to go. But
I don't want to see him again, especially if he's going to be overmatched and get beaten. Now, I'm not saying he got beaten up in this fight. Pedraza beat him up. That was hard to watch. I actually thought Molina had a shot in that fight, and Pedraza just beat him up.
I was rooting for Molina.
I was as well. I was rooting for him in this fight too, but he actually started to kind of fight. In the last couple of rounds, he actually started. I was watching the fight. I kept saying, "Man," because he kept circling to his right, and finally, I think around the 8th or 9th round, he finally would circle, and then take that quick little jab step to his left around the right foot of Ramos and throw that, not a straight right, but the hooking right, and he caught him a couple of times and just froze him. And if you see, I think he won the last 2 rounds. But if he would have done that from like round 3 or 4 on, what might have happened?
Oh, you're absolutely right. The thing that gets me about Molina reminds me of Omar Figueroa. 2 guys that it doesn't matter what you teach them in the gym, you just don't know what's going on in their mind in the ring, because how many trainers has Javier Molina been through? Every time I hear about it, it's like he's a guy that just doesn't take instruction. You heard it from Joel Diaz. He said that Omar Figueroa put 10 years on his life working with them. So something's wrong there when you got a fighter that just is, it's not that they got attitudes. They're just, you can't connect with them because you don't know where their mind's at.
Yeah, you're right.
Did you watch that one, Eric? Did you watch that fight?
Yeah.
What'd you think of it? What'd you think of the kid?
Well, I can almost just say exactly what you guys said, because I thought the same thing. Like you said, Michael, him making that quick little step to the left, and I did have him win in the last 2 rounds as well.
Yeah.
But if he would have showed up earlier, it would have been a completely different fight. I mean,
it could have been a much closer fight.
Could have been much closer. I don't know if he would have won, but maybe. You never know. I mean,
but definitely a closer fight.
You know what? It's something you said there that I was thinking of something the other day, and I always hear people say, well, "How come you're a so fighter? How come you waited so long?" A la Lomachenko, what happened in his situations, Richards and his fight. How come he waited so long? Well, he's never fought this guy before, so he wanted to take some time to really see what the guy have and then to bring it on. Well, guess what? it reverses. The guy you're fighting against is learning shit about you, and he can turn it on. So your best opportunity is to jump on him in the beginning, whether or not you know anything about the guy or not.
Yeah, don't let him figure you out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's for trainers out there. That's the best advice.
Get the jab in the face. Interrupt their plan. So
what's this feeling out nonsense? What is
bullshit,
this, like boxing
man.
foreplay? There's no feeling out. Get in there and do your thing. I cracked up when I.
And that's what happened in the main event. But the exact opposite.
When you think about it, it's probably the only sport where they say, "Oh, well, we're just going to fill out our opponent." Bullshit.
Oh.
You actually have to go to work. Your
Yeah,
job
like
is to go to work.
Like
right then and there.
like in football, it'd be the equivalent of coach saying, well, the first two possessions, we're just gonna punt the ball on third down no matter what, because we just want to kind of see what they're gonna give us on defense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
If you can score a touchdown in your first two possessions, score a touchdown. If you can get a knockout in the first 3 minutes, get a knockout. Do what you gotta do.
Amen.
You don't get paid for overtime in boxing. You can get paid the same.
Yep. Yeah. And there is no book. I don't care how much film you watch. I mean, look at Figueroa's fight. You think Abel Ramos thought that Figueroa was going to go in there doing, the Jamba dance? Hell no, dude.
The hokey pokey back and
whatever
forth.
the hell he was doing. I'm not trying to shit on Omar, because my heart cries for the kid, man. I was bothered last night, man.
Yeah, I was bothered.
I feel bad for him. I really do.
You told me about a minute left to go in that last round, AJ, before the fight, before he even went to the corner. You said Diaz needs to stop this fight right now. There's something amiss, and sure enough, he goes back there, and then thank God Joel Diaz stopped the fight. I was saying, please don't send him out there again.
No,
not send him out there again. It could have been a tragic situation.
Yeah,
not just a physical one. I'm not saying it was even the physical thing. I just think mentally. I mean, this reminded me so much. You made a great comment, bro, about Oliver McCall, but it was a little bit different where McCall just completely had this outburst. Those ones are when they're letting something out. Whatever Omar's holding inside is still there. This kid was a shell. And this kid was very confident. He went from being this very confident kid to this very, I don't even know, man.
Docile, very kind of docile. Yeah. It was sad. It was very sad.
Let's go ahead and jump to the main event, guys. The fight that everybody was.
I got about 4 more minutes, guys.
You got it, guys. Let's be quick. Eric, we're gonna let you give your take first on that fight. What'd you think of that? What'd you think of the overall fight?
Overall, great fight. I thought the scoring was like way off. I think it was much closer than what they said it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you think Andy deserved the win?
Yeah, slightly. Slightly. I mean, like 51-50 or 51-49. I mean, it's really, really close. But yeah, I'd say Andy probably deserved that win. But Chris Ariella, I mean, you got to take your hat off for this guy, man. He showed up, he fought, he stunned,
multiple times.
So that's for me, that's the thing. You listen to these stupid freaking announcers, quite honestly.
Horrible announce team, by the way.
You know what? I'm tired of it. I really am. I'm freaking tired of it because
Brian Kinney's the worst.
Chris Ariella, Chris could have, get 3 or 4 good shots. Crickets.
Yeah.
But Andy Ruiz hit him in the body. Oh my God, he hit him in the body. He followed it up with this and shut the hell up.
Yeah,
you know what? Call the fight fairly.
Yeah, Brian Kinney is like the Chris Mannix for the PBC, and he actually used to cover the DAZN cards and still does occasionally. Can you imagine both him and Chris Mannix on the same broadcast? Oh my God!
I'll tell you what bothered me the most is he kept trying to convince everybody that Andy Ruiz is this huge puncher, and he couldn't even dent Chris Arreola.
Never.
No credit to the fact that Chris is a proven knockout puncher. I would say right now, I know my brother's Eric's got to go, but
yeah, I got to go.
As far as I'm concerned, the Andy Ruiz hype train is over.
Real quick, just for the fans out there. Eric the Red's out. Gotta go. See y'all later.
Have a good one, my brother. Be safe, man. Be safe, bro.
Take care. See you later,
bro.
guys.
Bye.
I mean, how do you get this off? All right, stop it. There we go.
AJ, so what is your impression of the fight? Okay, first off, the scoring. How'd you think? How did you score the fight? I just kind of scored it mentally. I kind of mentally scored it. I actually didn't write anything down. I kind of was just keeping it in my head.
I could say this. If Chris wins those last 2 rounds, I could have seen it going towards Chris's way only because here's the thing is They were trying to make it look like Andy was doing so much more than he actually was.
You're right.
Andy was pulling on his punches. Chris was rolling with the punches. Every once in a while, he'd land that little shot to the stomach, a little shot to the, but Chris was deflecting most of the punches.
Yeah.
Like, if Chris doesn't hurt his shoulder, that jab was doing the job. That was the one thing I'll give Goosen credit for, was the fact he said use the jab. That was perfect. But Chris did something more than just make a great accountability a performance for himself. He put the script and what it takes to beat, in my opinion, a mid-level fighter. Andy Ruiz is not an elite fighter.
Not at all.
I don't care what anybody says. His work with the Reynosos has done nothing for him. If anything, he looked like a more vulnerable fighter to me in this fight than he did against Anthony Joshua.
You know what? I'll say this, and I said this, and I think I posted this. I was responding to a friend on social media. A prime Chris Arreola knocks Andy Ruiz out.
Oh, easily.
This is a 40-year-old Chris Arreola. You imagine the Chris Arreola that went to war with Deontay Wilder. Now, granted, he lost, but that was stand and trade. The fights with Bermain Stavern, the fights with Kovnatsky, where he's standing and trading with a big, and Kovnatsky's a bigger, heavier-handed fighter than Andy Ruiz, and he stood and traded. I think they had the right game plan for the first 2-3 rounds, and it was working. But then Joe Goosen needs to just stay behind the announce table.
He didn't have any urgency.
No urgency at all. In the very last round,
off of him, man.
He should have said, "Look at Chris. These are close rounds, blah, blah, blah." But, I hate to say it. I think Joe Goosen is part of the whole, he's part of the whole system. He understands that the more marketable guy is Andy Ruiz, because he was the first ever Mexican-American heavyweight champion. The fact that he's working with the Reynosos, I don't know. To me, he was part of the entire production, where he didn't take the handcuffs off of Chris and tell Chris. I would have told Chris right around round 6 or 7, because I had Chris actually winning the fight up until about the 4th, 5th round. I had him up like 3 rounds to 1 with the knockdown. So he was up about 2-3 points on my cards. And then Andy started to kind of level it off and was winning close rounds just by the sheer activity. And then whatever happened with Chris, and he stopped using that jab. But at no point was there any urgency from Joe Goosen at all. He's more concerned about putting on his stupid denim outfit. Hey, newsflash, Joe Goosen, it's not 1984 anymore. You're the only dipshit walking around wearing denim, okay?
Hey, I'll say this, bro. I don't understand. I agree with you 100%. In Chris's previous fight against Kornowski, he broke the all-time record for punches
heavyweights
in this fight. When you have a fighter that has the ability, and that was not the best shape Chris in the fight against Kornowski. This was the best I've ever seen Chris in shape, ready to go the full 12. If you have that kind of a recipe where he has the ability to throw that amount of punches, let's be honest. If Joe would have went into this fight letting Chris fight the same template he did against Kornowski, do you think Andy Ruiz has the ability to match that and withstand that for 12 rounds? Hell no.
Not at all. So that's why I'm saying a prime Chris Arreola, right?
I'm talking a 31. Just a Chris Arreola that fights the same script he fought a fight ago, 2 fights ago.
Yeah, exactly. He knocks out Andy Ruiz because he every time he touched him clean, he hurt him, stunned him, froze him, dropped him, had him hurt again in the 3rd round, multiple times in the 3rd round, hit him with that left hook, hit him with the right hand. But Chris just kind of wasn't letting his hands go, though, especially those last 3-4 rounds. We were like on the phone.
I think that was a tactic that Joe had, because I noticed every time Chris hurt him, he took a step back, because I tell you what it is. It's the same thing like I was talking about with Lomachenko and his dad. They had this belief that Andy had this extreme power in what he did to Joshua. When Joshua hurt him, they said Ruiz was dangerous. Well, let me tell you something right now. That's bullshit. If he just would have went in there and followed up like Chris usually does, the night would have been over. But he was trained by Joe. If you hurt him, you got to kind of step back and see, because he's going to come in with those crazy hooks.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me. But like you said about the script or the blueprint to beat Andy Ruiz, you're 100% right. Andy Ruiz is not he's not even a top 10 heavyweight. I'm sorry, he's not. What does Andy Ruiz do against even a guy like Egbe Ajaffa?
I mean, you never know, especially with the amount of power that Jaffa. Well, there was a guy that was in the audience that was sitting right there, and there's a reason why he's there, and that was Luis Ortiz. There's a reason why Ortiz is there. They're gonna make this fight.
What they have to understand is, you look at Andy Ruiz's resume, and we talked about this. Look at his resume. His best win was against, obviously he did something remarkable, and there's no we're not taking anything away from that. It was almost a miraculous win, because on paper he wasn't even supposed to, he was a late substitution, whatever, but he got an Anthony Joshua that was obviously stunned by the big show. He was no longer in front of all his Liverpool fans. He was actually in America, Madison Square Garden. A lot of Americans there probably rooting against him. And he got caught. And Anthony Joshua's never had the greatest of chins. I'm not saying he has a bad chin, but he has been hurt and dropped before. And Andy Ruiz was just able to capitalize on that. He just threw caution to the wind and was able to get the stoppage. It wasn't like he knocked out Anthony Joshua cold, because if you really had that power, why would the guy have gotten up 4 times? He got knocked down 4 times in the fight and got up every single time. So how concussive does he punch? He doesn't punch that part. They're trying to sell us a bill of goods that just is. It's, you can look at it and go, I don't know what these people are seeing.
That's what drives me crazy, bro.
Andy Ruiz is a good fighter. He does have speed for a heavyweight. He does have that quick 1, 2, 3.
I know a lot of guys in the heavyweight division have speed. That don't mean shit to me.
Yeah.
But what bothers me is the fact is that they're going to continue to do. It's no different than what's going on in the world today. You can't sit here and convince me I'm seeing something that I know I'm not seeing.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, Andy Ruiz, what is his route now? Where does he go after? Does he venture into a fight against, say, a Deontay Wilder? Hell no. Deontay Wilder, even with his mental issues, ends Andy Ruiz fast because he knows Andy can't take.
What if Deontay lands that right hand that Chris Arreola? The fight is over. He's getting counted out.
What if Ortiz gets the fight and does what he does? Because here's the thing they don't understand about Ortiz. He may not have Andy's quickness, but Ortiz is a more skillful fighter who
way more skilled.
And he has the ability to absorb better punches. And believe me, he hits a hell of a lot harder. Are we going to have this same announcer sitting here trying to convince me that Andy Ruiz hits harder than King Kong Ortiz?
They'll try. They'll try.
Give me a
like
break,
I said,
man.
there's something there. There's something to be said. That the reason why this fight was put on pay-per-view, this was the measuring stick. This was the litmus test to see. And I think ultimately the pay-per-view numbers will be respectable. It's not going to do 1 million buys. It might do a couple 100,000 buys. But I got to say this, though. A lot of people were texting me and calling me, hey, man, who's going to win that fight? And who's going to win that fight? So it did get some attention, especially here on the West Coast, Southern California. Yeah. I mean, we've got a big boxing.
All my neighbors around me were watching it.
Yeah. So a lot of people were interested in this fight, people that aren't normal boxing fans. So it did kind of do a little bit of a crossover into the casual audience. And I think a lot of people that were saying, because I read so much, and people that I even respect as writers and boxing personalities were basically saying this is a mismatch. And I just did, like, once again, where did you summarize that opinion? What led you to come up with that summation that Andy Ruiz is this devastating fighter? I just don't understand
Based off of his one victory over.
His one victory.
Dude, I'm going to go back and I'm going to say it again. It wasn't that Andy was so devastating what he did against Anthony Joshua. It was just that Joshua was not ready for that moment. Joshua was the kid who shows up to a sleepover and forgot his pajamas. End of story. That's what it is.
Yeah.
He was looking around the whole time. If you go back and watch the fight again, he's too busy looking around because he's not familiar. He was so familiar with that spot that he fought so many times, looking at the same crowds, the same people, everything. This is a whole new ball game. And he allowed himself to get suckered into the scene with Andy Ruiz. Other than that, Andy Ruiz has never looked spectacular. Based off of the performance you just saw from Joseph Parker, you see, being the fact that Parker beat Andy Ruiz, you see that he's not spectacular. My final scorecard, meaning my report card on this fight, would go this way. As far as for Andy Ruiz, I would score him probably a C, and that's just to say he did just enough to get the victory with some favorable judges, and maybe Chris that was held back by a trainer who should have known a little bit better.
Yeah, you're right.
For Chris Arreola, I'm going to give him a B+. Because at this stage of his career, at 40 years old, he showed me a resurgence, with the exception of him hurting his shoulder, which even towards the very end when they asked him about his shoulder, he still wouldn't admit that it was hurt. He didn't look for an excuse. He just said, give me another shot. Well, Andy agreed to it. I want to see it.
Yeah, I want to see it. The only other place the only place that they can go with Andy is a guy like a Kovnatsky or a Luis Ortiz. But Kovnatsky's waiting in the wings for his rematch against Helenius. I mean, but AJ, that was brilliant the way you summed it up. Andy, about a C minus. Really. He did nothing spectacular. They can't say there was this increased output. In fact, during the fight, right? Because the Reynosos are supposed to be these defensive masterminds.
They didn't have a clue.
During the fight, the person that actually exhibited the better defense, and that was actually rolling with punches, and at one series,
Arreola
ducked under. Arreola did something brilliant, and Lennox Lewis said he's all, oh, look at the way. No, it was Sean Porter, because when Sean Porter came down to cover that last fight, he said, look at the way Chris just rolled with that and then ducked under. He actually did the work defensively. Andy Ruiz was there. I kept saying it. 2 punches beat him. A jab and a straight right. You didn't even need to throw a hook. Jab, straight right. Double jab, straight right. He couldn't get out of the way of it. Every time he threw that straight right, he landed it. He just didn't throw it enough. One thing
that Joe Goosen was telling me. He told him, he said, every time you go up there, Chris, if you throw that jab, as long as you lead the assault with the jab, this guy can't fight going backwards.
No,
he was absolutely right.
He doesn't know, really. He hasn't really learned how to deal with the jab. He really hasn't.
Well, not only that, if Goosen goes back, and I hope that he's not a part of the product or the problem, but if but if they do get the second fight, and if Joe goes back and looks at the tape with Arreola, I know Areola's people say the same thing. Hey, you know what? Why did we wait? If we had this guy down second, I will guarantee you it will be a different Cristobal, the Nightmare Arreola in round 2 and second one. He will
round 13. Yep.
He knows that this guy couldn't hurt him. This guy hit him with his biggest shots where Areola's head, and Arreola would turn back and go, dude, come on.
He landed a left hook, Andy Ruiz did.
He never hurt the guy.
Yeah, somewhere around the 7th or 8th round. Best punch he did, and Chris just shook it off like it didn't even happen.
Nope.
And he actually walked into the corner with that little scowl.
I'm going to be honest with you, bro. Go back and look at the punch that Chris scored the knockdown with. Go back and look at the 3rd round when he hurt him again. Those aren't even traditional Arreola big punches where he sits down. Those are on the move. I'm telling you, there's a whole nother level to Chris Arreola. You've seen the best of Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree. Now, for everybody that thinks that the Reynosos were going to just do this miraculous transformation of a fighter, they just don't understand boxing and the way training works. It just doesn't happen. Well, it does not happen.
No, and there was a moment in the 10th round, I remember, Andy Ruiz tried to sit down, like on that work that they showed in that documentary where he's working the bag like Canelo, and he was trying to do that thing, and it was looking like he was doing something with Arreola. I remember Arreola did something really, really unique. He stepped back and out from the punch, came over the top of the right hand, and just knocked and changed the whole thing again. I'm thinking to myself, he's not a bag, Andy, a bag that doesn't hit back. So whatever training you did, things that you thought you could do like Canelo, you had that little flashback, I'm Canelo, I'm going to do this thing. Even Canelo knows at some point, you don't know. You haven't learned. It wasn't naturally put into you. You know what I'm saying? You think you're going to be this copy of Canelo. You're nothing like Canelo, dude.
No. You're right. Overall, so, I mean, do they fight the rematch? What do you think of the chances are on 1 to 10? You think they do a rematch, or you think
I don't think Reese's people, and I don't think after the Reynosos go back and watch the tape on that fight, I'll guarantee they're going to win. They're going to see the same thing that we saw, bro, that this Arreola was held back. This Arreola could have done so much more, but why not? Had nothing to do with his age, because he just threw a million punches in his last fight. What happened? It wasn't Andy's fucking pop. It was his trainer and the plan, and Chris stuck to the plan. He didn't want to go back to Joe, and Joe said, well, no, Chris, you didn't listen to me, man. You know, he listened to Joe. Now they got to do it a different way.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I did see that Henry Ramirez was in the corner too. Maybe he was brought in just at the last minute to work as a second, but I mean, he obviously didn't say anything during the fight. He allowed, and that was Henry Ramirez that was there in the corner, right alongside with along with Goosen's Mick guy. I forgot his name. You need
to talk to Robert, have Robert reach out, because Johnny's good friends with Chris, and tell him, hey, dude, you really want to get serious? You want to win this next fight? Come down here, man. And believe me, Robert will take the goddamn leash off you. He'll go back and see the things that we know.
Fight this guy, man. Fight this guy.
Robert, I want to see what Robert's impression of. Don't say anything about what we're talking about. When you talk, we're talking about the famed trainer Robert Alcazar. When you talk to Robert Alcazar, get his impression. I guarantee you it's going to be similar to what we've been saying.
Yeah, I'm going to ask him. I'll probably see him tomorrow. I'll definitely ask him. But okay, so that was pretty much it for the fights, right? This weekend. I mean, I know we've got a big weekend coming up, man. A great boxing weekend coming up. This is the traditional Cinco de Mayo weekend fight that used to be. It always used to be the Kentucky Derby and a Mayweather fight on the same day, and that was always the first Saturday in May. But obviously this year, with May falling on first Saturday in May falling on May 1st, the Derby was Saturday. We got this fight. The real fight, I mean, to me, the real fight of the month so far is definitely the Canelo Billy Joe Saunders fight. I think they're doing a decent job promoting the fight. I mean, you don't have to see a whole lot about it, because boxing fans know, and I believe that place is sold out. Whatever the tickets they've allotted for that fight, I think it's sold out. I know they sold 40,000 in the first 2 days. I'm guessing there's going to be at least 60,000 people there. Whatever they will allow into that stadium, it is going to be, they will fill that thing to capacity, whatever that capacity ends up being. And some from decent undercards. I mean, I got to say the PBC card, the undercards I thought were pretty exceptional. They were good fights. Not too sure about what's happening this coming Saturday, but the main event alone is going to be it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be exciting to see Canelo fight a southpaw, a crafty guy, and Billy Joe Saunders that like we said, you just don't know what Billy Joe is going to show up. I mean, I think we're both in agreement that Canelo is going to make an example of this guy, but Billy Joe does at times show flashes of brilliance where he actually can box and move and stick and move, throw and go. But we'll see. I think
that's the key. I think that's the key point too, bro, is the fact that Billy Joe, he shows these things at random times. You just never know what Billy Joe is going to show up. Lately, it hasn't been the Billy Joe that we remember from the past. But is boxing and being slick enough to stop the non-stop assault and the total ring intelligence that Canelo possesses, where he knows how to cut off the ring? Is there going to be enough space in that ring for Billy to find his spots in order to be offensive? Because you can run and dance all you want and stuff, but at some point you got to throw a punch back. And when you throw a punch back, you're pretty much vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's what's coming back at you. Is he going to be able to absorb that or elude it? That's the big question.
I think Billy Joe's strategy is going to be, I mean, obviously we're going to dig into this fight in detail in a couple of days, but I think his strategy is going to be to throw, land what he can, and hold. Throw, land when he can, and hold. If he can't get out of there, he's going to be holding. There's going to be, the referee is probably going to be told, hey, watch the holding, because this guy's going to try to hold, tie up, do whatever he's got to do. And
well, that's exactly what Kovalov did, if you remember, in their fight with Canelo with Kovalov, and it ultimately cost him because Canelo figured it out what to do and how he positioned his body and how he made Kovalov pay when he did try to hold. Believe me, I know what Tyson Fury's saying. Tyson Fury made a comment, Billy's the bigger guy. He's a physically stronger guy. No, he's not. People got to get off this thing that a couple inches or something makes you a physically stronger guy. Look at their body shape. Look at the work that they do in the gym. Look at their proportionary aspects. Billy is not a stronger guy. He's nowhere near a stronger puncher. He's not going to have the gas. There's spots where Canelo gas out, but he's gotten better at it. But can Billy, who's going to be able to absorb? Who's absorbed the bigger punches? Yeah. Billy Joe Saunders and his opponents, or Canelo and his?
Yeah, you're right. So and that fight's going to be on DAZN. I mean, if you don't have DAZN, I mean, it'd be a good time to pick it up, because that's going to be a good, exciting fight.
There's another fight on that card though that kind of interests me, because this is a guy who's been really highly touted. Me and you talked about him before. He's shown some flashes of where he could be something, but once again, I'm going to question the level of competition, and that's Frank Sanchez, the heavyweight.
Oh, the heavyweight, yeah, the Renel Sozoga, the Cuban heavyweight, right?
Yeah, going up against
very stiff, very robotic, strong guy, but he's not very fluid. Stature is very similar to a King Kong Ortiz, but King Kong Ortiz, for as big as he is, he's very fluid. He's very the rhythm that he possesses in the ring, whereas Frank Sanchez is just very
he's so hittable. And I know why they're going against these guys. And the guy that they're fighting against in this fight, in Nagy, he's a guy that's fought against a lot of the guys. I guess you could say he's a measuring stick, but he would have been a measuring stick about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Not at this point in his career. He's 34 years old. He's suffered 10 defeats. He hasn't really done anything in a while. He hasn't fought anybody of any real relevance since going all the way back to his loss to Gerald Washington. I mean,
yeah, they want to get him on. They want to get him on the card. They want to get him, some exposure. And obviously, because the Reynosos are working with him, he'll probably be somewhere like 2 or 3 fights before the main event. Obviously, they're going to need time to get back to the dressing room and get Canelo ready. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I know, and the undercard itself, it doesn't excite me too much. But then again, it's boxing, and anything can happen. I mean, 2 guys that we may not be very high on could end up putting in the fight of the night. You know what I mean? So,
no, yeah, absolutely. Because I know there was what was it again? On the Figueroa fight, there was a huge. I believe it was one of the earlier bouts. Wasn't there there was a huge upset in the beginning of the fights? I can't remember who it was.
Which one? On the DAZN fights?
I think it was a DAZN fight.
Oh yeah, there was a fight. It was supposed to be a tough fight, and somebody got knocked out in the first round. The Thomas something. I don't know. I don't know the fighter. They're local fighters, meaning they're UK fighters. I don't know much about them, but somebody got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah. Oh, Granado's fought on that DAZN card too.
Yeah,
right?
he fought to a draw, right?
Yeah, he won that fight.
Yeah, a draw, 8-round draw. He fought an 8-rounder, which was a little shocking. What'd you think? What'd you think of the kid, the lightweight from Guadalajara, the 18-year-old kid? His name was Molina, also.
Yeah, Molina. Yeah, I thought the kid was good. I'll be honest with you.
He's skilled. He's got some skill.
He's got some skill, but I mean, it was hard to really measure it. He was fighting against a guy that really didn't have a lot of experience, a guy that was very unorthodox. I mean, didn't
very
any
small
power,
too,
very small for the division. You could tell you just don't really know what these guys. You've seen this so many times where a guy just looks like he's got the physical stature, he's got the speed, he's got the punch, he's got the attitude, and then he gets in there with the guy who's that's just a little bit better than what they thought, and it's all downhill. Like what happened with the young kid, Vinny Melnicki.
Melnicki, yeah.
I mean, you just never know. They can make these guys look so devastating, and you buy into it, and then the one day when they fight somebody, that when the promoter's maybe half asleep when he signs it, everything goes out the window.
Yeah, you're right.
You just never know. But I'm trying to remember on that fight. God, it's driving me nuts now. I can't remember, but yeah, there was a shocking victory earlier in there, so where the guy was knocked out for a title. But yeah, it happens. Whatever.
Yeah, it happens. That's boxing.
So what else we got going on other than those fights this weekend?
I think there's some fights also on. I want to say maybe ESPN. There might be a couple fights on.
Well, I know there's a fight on Friday. Liam Smith is fighting Friday.
Oh, Liam Smith is fighting Friday. Okay.
Yeah, he's fighting against that Maga dude.
Magomed Kurbanov. Yeah, and that's going to be on DAZN as well.
Yes, on Friday.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I saw him in his fight against Diego Chavez. Of course, it wasn't the same Diego Chavez that fought against Keith Thurman some years ago and stuff. But yeah,
this Magomed Kurbanov, he's undefeated. He looks like he's a Russian fighter. He's undefeated. They call him the Black Lion, 25 years old. I mean, this is going to be a test for this kid. I mean, a last ditch effort for Liam Smith. What do you think?
I tell you, I know people look at Porky and they're like, hey, Liam's he's not going to. I'm going to tell you something right about Beefy. The kid fought tough in even both of his losses to Jaime Munguia and Saul Canelo Alvarez. To say that those are the two people you lost against is not. You can pretty much. I know guys that are undefeated that don't have a resume like this guy. He had 2 victories over the guy Liam Williams, which people forget about. One time he stopped him earlier than Demetrius Andre did.
Oh, you know what, brother? This fight is coming from Russia, but it's going to be on ESPN Plus. So I have the ESPN Plus. We can watch that fight, but it's coming from Russia. And you got to give Liam Smith credit, willing to go travel across, multiple time zones to go to Russia, hostile territory, fight an undefeated guy.
And I think that's why he is staying relevant and why. It's the fighters that overlook him. I'm going to say it again. Canelo Alvarez he had his dominating victory, but there was moments where Smith was in the fight. I'll be honest with you. Liam Smith gave Canelo Alvarez more fits than his brother Callum Smith gave him.
You're right.
Then he goes on to fight against undefeated Liam Williams, who they were trying to tout as this big, the new tank, and he steamrolls this guy and then beats him in the rematch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then goes on from there to knock out the big mouth Egerton, another guy. This guy puts himself in the fire and comes out most of the time on top.
Yeah. You gotta love him, man. You gotta love him.
I love the guy, man. I've seen the guy who's fighting against, and I'm not real impressed with him. This is a very winnable fight for Smith.
Yeah, this is going to be, like I said, I'm actually excited for that fight.
I'm excited
and that fight's going to be very early on. It's going to be very early on Friday, probably very, very early in the day, Friday here in the States. But
we should maybe cover that, man. We haven't covered one in a while. I like to cover it because it's going to be a damn good fight. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight for sure.
Well, the Russian guy reminds me a lot of Arthur Beterbiev. Doesn't got a lot of speed. He does got a lot of power. His physical resemblance is there. He's a big guy. But then again, like I said, Smith is the kind of guy that doesn't turn back a challenge. For some reason, they thought that they had something in Smith, or did Smith see something in him? We don't know, but we're going to find out.
Yep.
That's going to be a good one, though. I just don't understand. Like I said, we go back to the Liam Williams fight against Andrade. Why didn't they take on Liam Smith? Why take a guy who was beaten twice? Liam Smith, based on the way his offense is, much better than Liam Williams. I think he has a legitimate shot against Andrade.
Yeah, you're right. That's right, because he did. He fought Liam Williams.
Yeah, you know, I mean, he didn't get his shot against Charlos. He tried to get it, and he moved up to middleweight. He wanted to get that shot against Jamal, and Jamal didn't want it. Jamal doesn't seem like he wants to fight anybody. I don't know what his deal is going on right now with him. You know what I'm saying?
They're overpaid. Yeah. I can tell you that right now. They're getting overpaid.
Jamel's a dangerous fighter still. Jamal can be at times, but Jamel's still a dangerous fighter. And I agree with you on the thing with Zoo. Maybe not, like I said, Zoo's not ready for Jamel at this moment, but believe me, we're talking a short amount of time before.
Well, they're still building Tim up. They obviously want to get him out here fighting on this side of the world and get in some exposure and obviously play on the whole Costa Zoo thing. But you know, he's getting paid well fighting in Australia, and he's comfortable there. And eventually, he's going to cross. Like I said, he's got
to cross that pond in order to have that crossover appeal, in order to get those big fights. If he makes the mistake, like so many fighters do, thinking that they're going to have success staying in their hometown, you got to cross that pond. I know that you risk losing the fight by controversial decision or quick stoppage or whatever it is, but I'm telling you, I think Tim Tszyu has the ability to be, if not just competitive, but be victorious. Definitely against Brian Castano, and he's got a good shot against Charlo, just based on the fact he's a more accurate and a more patient fighter. Charlo tends to lose his head and gets a little wild. So can Charlo absorb those punches on the return?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Tzew's the younger fighter. I mean, I'm just saying, Tim Tszyu, the possibilities are out there, but he can't follow that same path that they try to do with so many other fighters. He's got to cross that pond because he'll have crossover appeal. He's a good-looking kid, well-spoken, and he's just a different machine than what you see on the street. He's one of these things where you see a guy, you're like, dude, he's not a boxer. He gets in there and holy shit, you know?
Yeah.
Same.
Very, very, very focused, man. Laser focus.
I just wish that Hatton's kid was more advanced in his career because I would sell the dog for that one, dude.
Which one? Gator or Montana?
No, I was selling Gator. I'm not getting rid of Montana. She's a red-nosed pit. You can't even find those anymore.
They bred him out of existence.
They did. I swear to God, bro.
They don't want him anymore.
No. But so
all right, we're good. We're about an hour and 10 in. I think we're gonna go ahead and cut it. But that was a good show, bro. It's good to see Eric too. Man, it's too bad about what's going on with the Portland shutting down again or Oregon shutting down again. God damn. I mean, things are starting to roll again for him, but
I try to tell people, man, if you got successes, keep it quiet, man. The people, that's one of my biggest pet peeves.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I'm doing that I don't tell the world because I don't need somebody to hit likes or give me some little funny thing saying, "Oh, great job." Just let the poop be in the pudding. Let the poop be in the pudding later on when it comes out on its own. There's a reason why it gets revealed eventually.
Yeah, you're right.
But it is what it is. Hey, good show.
All right, bro. Good show, bro. It's good catching up. So we'll be back on Tuesday. I think we're gonna try to go a little bit later on Tuesday.
Yeah. We're
gonna try to go. You want to stick at 5? You want to move it to 6?
Oh, we're gonna go our show. I'm gonna update it. We're gonna start doing our Tuesday shows at 6 o'clock. It's a better time.
Yeah, a little bit better time. I think give us a little more time because with the sunlight and stuff, I'm usually busier in the afternoon. So
5 on Sundays, 6 on Tuesdays, and then I'll see you at band practice tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, our singer's in town, so
woohoo!
Yeah, so she's pretty excited to get it. She's come to rehearsal. She's like, "I'll be there." I'm like, "All right, well, we'll see you there."
Like I said, we're the same way we are in boxing as we are in music, bro. We don't have to tell the world everything that we're doing. It's always better to just kind of open up that product. Isn't it always better to get a present or a gift from somebody and you open it and go like, "Holy shit, I just thought you were going to give me a pair of stocks and a pair of drumsticks." You open it up, it's a whole nother bag.
Yeah.
Beef jerky.
All right, bro. So, all right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Please help us, man. Spread the word. If you like just coming and sitting and talk with us, we'll open up the chat. We're actually, we're trying to build the show up. So so just, bear with us and stick with us. And if you, want to join us any of the days, we'd happy to have you here. Join us in the chat. Ask questions. We'll answer questions about our history and boxing, our present, music, whatever, movies, whatever you guys want to talk about. We're here.
Fish tacos.
We'll see you next. We'll see you on Tuesday, 6 o'clock for all of us at End of the Ring Live. I'm your host, Mighty Mike.
I'm AJ